Hi there, Smart Driver. Rick with Smart Drive Test talking to you today about steering wheel hand positions for the purposes of a road test. I had a comment from Sabrina. She wanted me to go over hand for left and right turns. And I'm just in a parking lot here and I'm just going to do that. I'm just going to drive around. I'm going to demonstrate how to do hand over hand. Now, for those of you in the UK and Australia and Europe, parts of Europe, they want you to do hand to hand because they never want your hands off the steering wheel. And I'll demonstrate that as well. But for the first part, hand over hand. If you're driving a manual transmission, you're going to have to take your hand off the steering wheel to shift the gear. If you're driving an automatic, you can leave your hands on the steering wheel for the duration of the road test. Now, when you turn a corner, you get the steering wheel turned, hold with whichever hand. In my case, it's going to be the left hand, and then you're going to shift with your right hand. So as long as the steering wheel is in a static position, you can take one hand off the steering wheel for the purposes of shifting. But other than that, you cannot take your hands off the steering wheel. You have to keep them bolted to the steering wheel for the entire test. And it's going to be hand over hand for people in North America, and it's going to be hand to hand in Europe and other places. Now, if you have particular questions about any of the nuances about the license test that you're going to take, as I say time and time again, go and hire a local driving school, get a driving instructor to take you out, because these people teach people how to drive and how to pass road tests every day. So they'll be able to answer your very specific questions about the place where you're going to be taking your driver's license test. So what we're going to do, we're going to fire up the cameras here and we're going to go in the parking lot and I'm going to show you how to do hand over hand and hand to hand. Now, in the dash cam, you'll be able to see a white piece of paper. The piece of paper on the hood is the center of the hood, and it will help you to locate the vehicle in the lane. It's not going to matter too much here in the parking lot, but when we get out and start doing turns on the road, it will give you some indication of where the vehicle is in the lane. So stick around, we'll be right back with that information. So turning left and shoulder checking. We're just going to do a figure 8. Drive up to the other corner here and we feed the hand and reach over. We drive to the corner and just release the steering wheel. You may have to help it back a little bit, and you can do hand to hand to help it back. So reach over the steering wheel and bring the steering wheel back. And you can just practice this in a parking lot as I'm doing here, just doing figure 8s. And that will give you some familiarity with working the primary controls of the vehicle, the steering wheel, the brake, and the throttle. And this is one of the things that you want to do, is you want to go out to a parking lot and you want to do this. And then we just reach over, shoulder check. You can see me reaching over and getting the steering wheel. And this is much more efficient, I feel, than hand to hand. And actually, I think that a lot of people don't do hand to hand. It's beginning to wane in terms of popularity, but I have seen videos on YouTube where they're still doing this in the UK. So that's hand over hand. This is hand to hand. And actually, I have trouble doing it because I've never taught hand to hand except when I was in Australia for a short period of time. And you simply just slide the steering wheel through your hands. It's kind of called the shuffle. And again, this is a good thing to do, is just to go out to a parking lot and do figure 8s like this. And when you get comfortable doing figure 8s like this, then you can start doing straight line backing around corners and those types of things. And when you get really proficient at your slow speed maneuvers in a parking lot, you can do reverse figure 8s, and those will really, really help you to improve your overall driving and get you super familiar with space management of the vehicle. Because if you can do slow speed maneuvers, driving out on the highway is going to be much easier, because those slow speed maneuvers are going to transition, those skills are going to transition to all of your driving and improve your overall driving. So those are the two different types of ways of manipulating the steering wheel: hand to hand and hand over hand. And And a lot of times some driving instructors, different places, will want you to use hand to hand to bring the steering wheel back. Personally, when I teach students, you don't have to. You simply open your fingers, let the steering wheel slide through your hands, and just close your fingers after the steering wheel comes back. Now we're going to head out onto the road here, and I'll demonstrate both of these on the roadway as we're driving around here. I'm a parking lot here, and be very careful when you're in parking lots. So this is hand over hand, and we're releasing, just keeping our palms in contact with the steering wheel, and then helping the steering wheel a little bit when it's done. Shoulder checking. And I couldn't see because of that large bus there. I do have a bit of an acceleration right here, but it's not enough to get in front of this gaggle of traffic. There's a lot of traffic coming from the left side here, as you may be able to see in the camera. We have a gap. Shoulder check immediately before going. And you can see that we've had some snow here, which makes driving fun because it's only our second snow of the year, and people are still not used to driving in the snow. As well, communicating with other traffic, your intentions on the road. And I have my signal on. Now when you're making a left-hand turn here, you'll be able to see in the dash cam that what I'm going to do is I'm going to meet the gap. I can see the gap coming, so I've moved straight forward, and I shifted one gear in preparation for the left-hand turn before I started turning the wheels. And again, when you're driving in the snow like this, it's a bit difficult to determine where the lane markings are. Once in a while you just kind of get a little glimpse of them. I can see the lane marking over to the right there. I'm actually not in the lane right now. I've got construction workers on the right. There's signal shoulder check. Got a vehicle coming, but I can make it. There's a good gap there to go around for the left-hand turn. You saw on that left-hand turn, it was a big, wide, sweeping left-hand turn. That I didn't even have to use hand over hand. I didn't have to turn the steering wheel very sharp. Okay, so this one here, and I just open my palms, open my fingers, and let the steering wheel slide through my palms. But I keep my palms in contact with the steering wheel. We'll do a right-hand turn up here, and I'll do hand to hand. Here's signal shoulder check, and I get my gear before I start turning. So I shift down to second gear. And again, for those of you driving, you can see that hand to hand is not as quick as hand over hand, because you're not moving as much of the wheel through your hands, because your hand over hand is much quicker than hand to hand, because hand to hand you're not moving as much of the steering wheel through your hands. I get my gear before I turn the corner, hand to hand. Over hand, open my fingers and let the steering wheel slide through my palms. And I've got a flagger up here with a stop sign. And I stop before the intersection. Otherwise I'm blocking the intersection. Intersection before proceeding. And we're going to turn right at the intersection. Hand over hand, open my fingers. Steering wheel comes back through my palms. going slow with the pedestrian and the other person standing next to the dump truck, the tip truck. And again, you can see here that I don't need to take my hands off the steering wheel. I only move the steering wheel less than half a turn to get it to go around the curve here. Driving slowly in the snow, you can see I'm driving less than 40 kilometers an hour, and I'm going to slow down early. Quick review of steering wheel hand positions. Hand to hand, hand over hand are the two techniques that you use for manipulating the steering wheel when you're driving for the purposes of a road test. It will depend on where you are in the world, which one you're going to use. In North America, for the most part, we use hand over hand because it is more efficient and you can manipulate the steering wheel more quickly. Now, when you go around a corner, you don't have to manipulate the steering wheel back. Simply open your fingers, allow the steering wheel to move through your palms because you're keeping your palms in contact with the steering wheel, and you may have to bring it back a little bit, help it out a little bit. But for the most part, simply just open your fingers, let it slide through your palms, and then close your fingers after the turn is completed. Hand to hand. In the UK and Europe, they want you to use hand-to-hand. Some places in Australia as well want you to use hand-to-hand. And the reason for that is so that you have both hands in contact with the steering wheel at all times. A lot of driving instructors, myself included, don't find it as efficient as hand over hand, and you can't move the steering wheel as quickly. As I said, a lot of turns you're going to require less than half a turn on the steering wheel, and you won't even have to move your hands off the steering wheel in order to turn the vehicle left or right. Question for my smart drivers: do you have to use hand to hand or hand over hand for your road test? Leave a comment down in the comment section there and tell us what you think of the technique that you have to use for the purposes of your road test. I'm Rick with Smart Drive Test. Thanks very much for watching. If you like what you see here, share, subscribe, leave a comment down in the comment section. As well, hit that thumbs up button. Check out all the videos here on the channel if you're working towards a license or starting a career as a truck or bus driver. Head over to my website, lots of great information over there. Stick around to the end of the video, funny bits as well as links to the other videos and to my website. Thanks again for watching. Good luck on your road test, and remember, pick the best answer, not necessarily the right answer. Have a great day. Bye now.